Hey there, you're listening to the Not So Breakfast Show with Sasha and Ish. Alright, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, and you are listening to the one that starts season 2. What have we learnt during COVID? What have we learnt in lockdown? And this one is full of confessions like this.
And there's this little thing I tell myself, which is that when I have time, I will tidy that up. And evidently that's not true, because in both of these lockdowns, yes, I've been busy, I've worked through them, but I have had more time.
What I don't have that I don't want is lots of friends. I know you're going to love
it. Man, I am so with you on that.
So it is good to be back. That's the show. Let's get it. Alright, welcome to the return of the Not So Breakfast Show, and this is the one that starts season 2, and it is good to be back, Sash. It has been a few weeks since we've been recording, this podcast.
It feels like it's been like 25 years since we did a show together, except we've been busy doing other things as well, right?
We've been working on a secret little project on the side, which we're going to talk about at the end of the podcast today. So I feel like I've seen you more than I've ever seen you, but it is nice to be back into the rhythm of a weekly podcast for the Not So Breakfast Show.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be back talking about stuff that matters, but doing it with you.
And what's so interesting is we are both in different levels of lockdown. So for those of you outside of New Zealand is split right now into Auckland, or as we call it, Gilead, and we have been at lockdown level 4, which means that don't go outside your house, the floor is lava, and you can go to the supermarket and that's about it. We've just come down to level 3, which is exactly the same as level 4, but now I can get KFC.
You can drive out of your house for takeaways, which is pretty cool.
But you've been living in level 2.
I am living the level 2 life. So that means that I can go out of my house, I can catch up with friends, have to be masked indoors and still take some extra precautions. But pretty much life is, I'm living life outside and on the large.
So it's a little bit different for both of us. I must admit, I am getting a bit over it, Sash.
Well, I didn't want to say, but we both look much older than we were at the end of season 1.
Oh, it does feel a little bit like that. I think it's that repetitive day over and over, Groundhog Day, that's just messes with your head. I was looking at my calendar the other day and I completely thought I'd missed a meeting, and then I was looking at the wrong day and I didn't even know what day it was, and it just feels like Saturday 3 today.
Yeah, I've completely lost the days in lockdown. But there's 2 things that have really stood out for me, because I was at level 4 for a while, and our adult sons returned home, and one of them brought one of his friends. So we had 3 more adult men in our house. And the Groundhog Day nature of that existence, the fascinating thing for me, and I've said this before, is I don't know if you've noticed this, but you can feed your family breakfast, and just a few hours later, you have to give them lunch. And then a few hours later, even if you're not cooking, everybody still needs feeding. And then after a rest, you wake up the next day and you do that all again. And it doesn't seem to matter how much food you buy or cook, everybody still needs feeding. And I think that's a design flaw. I think we've been designed badly, because by the time we're about 6 days into lockdown, I'm like, that's it. There's nothing left in the whole world to cook. We've cooked every meal there is, and now we're done.
My favourite thing about the first lockdown was Jamie Oliver, who's a chef out of the UK, and he just continued his show, but he just did it from home. So his wife was filming on their phone, and the kids are coming in and out, and you could just see as the series went on, he was getting more and more over it. But he's like trying to cook something, he goes, well, I haven't got that, and I haven't got that. And then by the time what he started and what he ended up with, it was, but great show. And it just felt real, right?
Tin tomatoes on spaghetti. Yeah. I reckon one of the learnings that's come out of lockdown for me, which is, I think it's kind of fascinating, is this idea that our reality is not real. It's just what we make it mean. So I'm so conscious that as we're talking about this lockdown that we've been in and how it's affecting us, New Zealand has had arguably the most freedom of almost any country on earth since the pandemic really began in March 2020. So when we have lockdown, we've gone hard, we've gone early, and it's been intense. So our lockdowns are some of the strictest on earth. Other countries have lockdowns and people can get haircuts. And in New Zealand, we're just like wild and woolly, looking like our sheep going, what? You're getting a haircut in lockdown? That's not a lockdown, that's a holiday park. So when we lock down, it's pretty intense, but we actually haven't locked down for long. So our reality is, wow, we've been locked down for so long, I need to break out. And I'm conscious that there are people in other countries around the world that have not left their houses for months at a time. And so their perspective on what we are going through is different. And it really, I find that so interesting as a concept, that how we perceive the world is what alters how we feel about it compared to how it actually is. So is 4 weeks in lockdown hard compared to a year in lockdown? No. But is 4 weeks hard when you haven't done it for a while? Hell yes. I don't know. I mean, have you been thinking about those kind of things at all?
Yeah, I have. And I think when I went into this lockdown, I didn't want to repeat what I did in the last lockdown. So the very first one that we went through, I guess there was a lot more uncertainty because we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know if there'd be vaccinations. We didn't know what was happening with jobs. And I remember with the place that I work, it literally felt like we were building the plane as we were flying it, right? We were making decisions and we weren't sure what the big effect would actually be. This time it hasn't been the same because we've had reference and we've got really good plans in place. But I remember last lockdown, I wanted to do something creative, do a course or do something, and I just didn't. And I didn't want to repeat that this time. I wanted this lockdown to be something that I kind of go, well, yeah, I went through it, but we also built this thing. And that was one of the reasons why I think we built our little side project. It was something to focus on, something that we could hustle on, and it felt like we were making really good use of the time that we couldn't be doing other things.
And also, if the world changed so much that owning a coffee business would no longer pay any money, because hospitality is hugely volatile during COVID-19. You work in the fitness industry for Les Mills. If there was any hint that the fitness industry was going to shit itself, well, you and I needed to make some money doing something else. So it's great that we've put something together that we can sell to people just in case our day jobs go tits up.
I have enjoyed some of the memes coming out. I think I saw one the other day and it said, you think it's bad now? In 20 years, the world will be run by children that were homeschooled by alcoholics. and then this other one said, I don't know how many cookies it takes to be happy, but I can tell you right now it's not 27.
So, yeah, I mean, everybody copes in their own way, right? That's just, people are doing what they've got to do.
Yeah. So have you been thinking about things that you might change or you might do differently as a result of going through another lockdown? Has that been on your mind?
Oh, 100%. I will never live with my family ever again.
Well, that was the first meme that came out, I think it was way back, and it just had a guy and it said, lockdown is coming. Do you choose option A, stay at home with your wife and children, or option B? And he just goes, option B. It didn't even get to what option B was. I think there was a few people now that are just going straight to option B.
I think it's such a fascinating exercise in understanding what makes you tick. And my big thing is always about self-awareness and understanding what your various kind of triggers are and understanding why you respond to people in different ways. And we actually had a great time when we had everybody home. We were playing lots of games and doing lots of stuff. But you just notice differences in people when your usual environment and your normal routines get knocked around a bit. And if anything, I've always used the time to be really grateful for what I have, but to also think about when we get back to whatever the new normal is, what actually do I care the most about? And I think that's a really useful exercise. So for some people, They've said, I love this time that I've spent at home with my family, and I don't want to commute. I don't want to spend as much time in the car because I've actually worked really well from home and the extra time is useful to me. So I love the way that the world order has been kind of tipped up. Should we have cities full of office blocks? Does that make sense anymore? And what does that mean for urbanisation and how we live? And I love all those kind of thoughts, right? But it's also made me think, and you may have seen these questions, if you could only visit one other place again, what would it be? And, so things like that sort of pop up into my mind. Is it more important that I spend more time with my family, or is it more important that I spend more time living in a cottage on the Italian seaside? You can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, why don't we go through a few questions that might allow people just to reflect? And, if you're listening to this, you could write these questions down and then maybe later on just kind of work through them and really start to get a sense of where you're at and has things changed as a result of COVID in the last 18 months, really. So why don't we start with the question, what am I learning right now from the way things are right now? So not, I wish it would change or what would I change, but what am I learning just from what's going on?
That's such a good question. I want to share one of the things that I've learned about myself. And I just think it's taken me such a long time to learn this, and I feel like such an idiot. But I think I can come to some self-acceptance on it. So I want to give you this example.
Okay.
I have a really, I wouldn't say a messy office, but it's got lots of stuff in it. And there's this little thing I tell myself, which is that when I have time, I will tidy that up. And evidently that's not true, because in both of these lockdowns, yes, I've been busy, I've worked through them, but I have had more time. And I haven't taken that time to clean my office. And when I say office, you can substitute almost anything I own for that. My wardrobe, my car. I've been blessed with a new car in the last 2 years. And when I first bought it, I was like, okay, so I'm never going to have a candy bar wrapper. There will be no chip packets in this car, no McDonald's bags. This car is going to be pristine, right? Yeah, didn't happen. So one of the things that this lockdown has taught me, now that I'm 48, I need to just give up on the idea that one day I'm going to materialize into this hyper-organized person. Everything's clean, everything's tidy, and God bless me, I want to do other things with my time. Because obviously I care more about other things, and I just want to have some radical self-acceptance about that. I need to make peace with it.
One of my favourite memories of you is you picked me up years ago.
I want to remember this in my head. Do I look hot?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you were hot. And you were sitting in the car and you picked me up. And I think we were just going for coffee. And I went to hop on the passenger side and I couldn't get on it because it was just full of stuff. This is the old car. And then you swept it all off and you said, it's okay, I'm not tidying my car until I get a new one, and when I get the new one, I'm going to keep that one clean. Oh! So I remember that statement. And then you got the new one, and you did for a while. Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah. So some radical self-acceptance about who you are, because given more time, things haven't necessarily changed. That's been a learning for me. What about you?
I think a learning for me has been, I get frustrated when I can't be creative and add value to things. And I've always known that's something that has driven me. But I've just noticed it more. Like I want to be doing something each day. I don't just want to go through a day. And so I need to make sure that I am planning and I have got a bit of a side hustle or something going on, because I know that fuels me for other stuff. It's almost like you get to the end of the day and you go, well, I didn't get heaps done, but at least I got this thing done, or I got a little bit closer to that goal. So really just the importance of goal setting has been highlighted to me again, because it's so easy to slip off your radar.
And that won't be true for everybody, right?
No.
Not everybody is goal-driven, and that's okay. One of the types of people I really admire are the people who are able to suit themselves and please themselves. And I've never been able to do that. So there's people who just don't work and they fill their days with walks and baking, and I envy that, but I know enough about myself to know that's not where I am. So a learning for you around the self-awareness where you go, I actually am just driven to complete stuff and create stuff, and my mental health is better served when I'm doing stuff than when I'm not. And that identifying that just puts it back up the priority list for you. So be great for you guys who are listening to this first episode of the Not So Breakfast Show in season 2, just to reflect, what have you learnt? What have been the lessons for you at this time, and the useful lessons?
Or another question that we could ask, and I'm going to ask the question, but then I'm going to give it 2 context phrases. So the question is, what do I have that I want and that I don't want? So what have you got right now that you recognize, I want that in my life, I want that to continue? And then the second part of the question is, what do you have right now that you actually don't want and you don't want to continue? Well, that's quite a deep one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I can say one of the things that I have in my life and I want to continue to have is a really healthy self-esteem. So I'm really lucky that I like myself. Okay, I love the stupid jokes I tell in my own head every day, and I'm really happy in my own company. One of the things I have that I wish I didn't have was an inner critic about the way I look. And that's been real for me, and I've shared that as I've got older. I don't like what I see, and that's new. And I either need to cosmetically, surgically change myself, and I don't want to do that, because that brings me back to that question of who taught you to want that. And I want to live in a society that says, congratulations, you could have died when you were 36 and you didn't, so 48's great. And this is what 48 for you looks like. And that's something I would love to not have anymore, is that inner voice telling me what a ugly hoe bag I am.
Well, and that's how you know you're back on the Not So Breakfast
Too
Show.
slow-ish. You were too slow. That was a test. You were supposed to instantly say, oh, I can't believe you have thoughts like that. You're a goddess.
I know, but I guess everyone couldn't see the shock on my face that happened.
Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be
we
it.
know it's not true, Sarge.
Yeah, so can you answer that question for yourself? Things that you have that you want to have, and then things you have that you actually don't want to have.
Yeah, I love the autonomy that I have around my job and my work, the ability to work the way I want to work, when I want to work, and almost with who I want to work. I love that. And I think that has brought me lots of joy, being able to just do things in a way that suits me, but still deliver on really good results for the business and for what I'm working on. For things that I have that I don't want, I'm probably in more pain than I would like, even though I'm having a bit of a good stint with my hip. So obviously I had my hip replacement a little while ago, and I'm starting to see that come right. But the other one is kind of a little hit and miss, and I can feel it getting worse. So I'm on the waiting list to get that one done. So that's probably something that I have at the moment that I don't want. So that's driving me to go through that operation again and all the recovery again, even though I know it's going to be awful. I know that on the other side of it is pain-free. So that's something that I have right now that I definitely don't want, and I can see a window for it, and I'm just going to get it done again.
Yeah, good. I mean, I think one of the powerful reflections that we can have as you put things into these categories is where our biggest sense of frustration often comes from is when the things that we have that we don't want are things that are outside of our control. And it's really good to recognise what's in your control. And it comes back to, the ancient wisdom of, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? And I think one of the differences in our household perhaps is that when things have been happening around COVID rules and regulations, I've been very accepting of it. And I've just been like, it is what it is. Here's what we're going to do. Let's go. So that's been my mantra. It is what it is. Here's what we're going to do. Let's go. So every time something new gets announced or there's some change in the rules and it affects the business, I just come back to that. because I can't control the decisions that are being made. I can only control my response to it, right? And yeah, that's so tricky. So even recognizing for you can't control the pain, but you can make choices about what you're going to do about it. And you can equally have said, you know what, I'm not putting myself through that operation, but knowing that you had made that choice, you would then take yourself to a different level of acceptance or get a new plan around how you were going to manage the pain, because you have some autonomy in decision making on what it is that you are doing. So if I think about the frustration of not having that self-esteem about the way I look and my appearance, I can't actually change a whole lot of my appearance, and I don't want to in the ways that I could, right?
No, yeah.
So I need to embark on some kind of work to accept myself. And so that's the bit of work that I can control. I can control getting into a good space about that, and that's the action I'm going to take. So recognizing what you can and can't do is really helpful, and coming to some peaceful acceptance about the stuff that's outside of your control.
Well, I remember when we were talking, I think it was to Julia Grace, and I went to a session that she was actually taking, and she talked a lot about her mental wellness. And she used to say, I used to be really in shape and unhappy, and now I'm not really in shape, but I'm happy. And just that, just that mental switch, as opposed to, well, if I looked this way, then I would accept myself. That is quite a different approach to solving that question, as opposed to, well, I'll just start exercising more or eating less carbs.
Absolutely. And even taking the approach during this global pandemic and lockdown to just be asking these questions. It's a really useful thing to do, that this period of time, to not just write off those 2 years and go, that was a disaster because I couldn't do the things I'd planned to do. Say, well, what did I do in that time, and what could I do, and what did it teach me, and what did I learn, and how do I take those learnings to move forward in pursuit of some more inner peace, or in pursuit of making a greater contribution, or in pursuit of something that I care about.
Okay, so here's another question. We're going to phrase it again sort of in two parts. The first one is, what don't I have that I want? And what don't I have that I don't want? So those are the two questions. What don't I have that I want? And what don't I have that I don't want?
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-Minute Presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-Minute Presenter program.
Okay, so this is actually a bit of a mindfuck because I'm just even trying to understand the question. And if you haven't listened to season 1 of the Not So Breakfast Show, I'm going to tell you for free, I'm very clever, I'm smart, I'm smarty pants, and battling to understand this question. So what don't I have
that I want?
Okay, so I absolutely want the freedom and ability to get off this island. I am so ready to travel. And part of this was, and I might have shared this before, I didn't really do a traditional OE. New Zealanders do and Australians do an overseas experience where we head off to Europe, we head off to England, and we explore the world. And I never did that for a whole lot of reasons. So I was just coming into that season of my life where I was traveling more and visiting new places and meeting great people. And the pandemic just kind of put a full stop on all of that. And it was hard to not take that personally. Like, excuse me, world, I'm just blooming now. I'm in the blossoming season, so now is not a good time for all your borders to be closed. So that is something that I want and I don't have. And it's not really within my control.
All right. Well, what don't you have that you don't want? So you recognize there's something out there and you definitely don't want that in your life, and you don't have it now either.
Right now, I don't have jealousy or a keeping up with the Joneses kind of approach to life. I'm genuinely enormously happy when I meet people who are doing things that are amazing, even if I wished that I was doing them. So if one of my friends was offered a primetime talk show that I think, I would love to do that, I never have a moment of, why didn't I get asked to do that, and I'd like to do that in a jealous way. I'm always delighted for people, and if someone does better than me at something, I'm genuinely stoked for them, and I don't ever want to be one of those people that cannot celebrate the success of others around me, or be a person who gets a new car and then wants a better car, or gets a new couch and then wishes I had picked the colours that my friend picked. I've never had that, and I've never had that recently, and I don't want.
Great.
Is that one of the possible? Have I answered the question like you thought I would?
I think so. Well, I mean, I wasn't
Like,
sure
what is
how
it
you
for
would
you?
answer them. So I guess what I don't have that I want, I would definitely like more financial freedom.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I'd love to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and share that. And I think that at the moment I still feel very tied to forms of work, and commitments to work, to pay bills and do that kind of stuff. So that's something that I would definitely want. And I think it helps me focus and decide what priorities might look like and what I might spend my time and add value to. What I don't have that I don't want is lots of friends. I know you're going to love.
Preach, man. I am so with you on that. And what's good is I think we both live in a way that ensures that's never going to be a problem.
I know. People probably listening to us going, we're the most horrible people ever. What I mean by that is I have a few friends that are really close, and I love that.
You need to tell the truth, Ish. You have one friend.
I reckon I've got 4. But I'm definitely not I need 10, 20, 30. I just don't. I just don't want the drama of it. And I don't know, I'm getting more introverted. I like that quality with a few people that I really like and love, as opposed to the wider big circle of friends. So, and that's good to know that, because I'm not out there trying to, connect and build a friend network. So.
Well, that's lucky, because you'd have to just do some upskilling. I actually think the whole friends thing at our age is really interesting, because I love what you're saying about that. I can't help feeling that in some respects I've missed something, and it's okay, and maybe it will be another season of my life, but I know that there are groups of friends who have been together for a long time, and they have so much shared history. So when they turn 50, there might be 10 families that are all going to go and do something together, whether it's a party or a picnic or a weekend away, and it's amazing, and they've watched each other's kids grow up. And I've got a couple of friends like that who I'm enormously grateful for, but I've never been part of a gang of people that have done that. And maybe it's not as great as it looks from the outside looking in, but there's a little part of me that goes, maybe later in life I'll cultivate, maybe at my old folks' home there'll be a bunch of us girls that hang out together. Do you know what I mean by that? I mean, have you guys got that, or not so much?
Probably the best example I can give of that is my oldest daughter, Sam. So she's 18, and she literally has a massive group of friends. And it's not just people that she knows, they're people that she is invested in, and they hang out, all the time when they can. And she's probably got like a really tight 12 and a bigger group of about 20. And then at her 18th, there was 50 people. And they're not just acquaintances, they're people that are her friends. So that's quite an interesting approach, because Joe and I are probably more smaller groups of friends and have spent longer periods of time together, but the group is pretty tight and small. And it's probably more on me than Joe. I think Joe would have gone bigger. But anyway, you live with your handbrake. So, but yeah, definitely Sam's taken a different turn, and her approach to her friend group is much different, and she'll probably be the one that ends up in the retirement village and knows everyone in the village because she took them all with her.
Yeah, and they might stay together. What a fascinating question to be able to recognise what you don't have and you don't want, and also to think about what you don't have and that you do want. And I mean, as much as I've just said I want to travel, actually I am. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to America. So we should probably, can I just say this, that if anything bad happens to me in America, and by bad I mean I get Delta and die, I love you guys. I love you, Ish. I love
thanks,
you, John.
Sash. We love you too.
I love our listeners. And please, while I'm gone, somebody send messages every day to my mum, because you can imagine the worry. The worry about, having your kid go into... Now, obviously, there's hundreds of millions of Americans living in America right now, but the idea that you would choose to put yourself in an environment that is more challenging, I think my mum and Dad, they battle with that a bit. They're like, you don't have to go. I'm like, yes, but Harvard Business School wouldn't move its professors to Auckland, so off I go. So we'll record from Boston, and well, you'll be in New Zealand, I'll be in Boston, and that'll be really interesting, because again, these learnings out of this pandemic time is to pursue and chase the things that matter to you. And how do you balance that when staying alive and being there for your family is really important, but so is your continued investment in learning.
And if something does happen to you, Sash, I'll be taking applications for Sash's position on the show via DMs on the Not So Breakfast Show Instagram page.
And I have no doubt how replaceable I am, man. No doubt.
Whatever.
Wow. Just when I was thinking my self-esteem was great.
We both bring a lot to the show, Sash, but intellectual property is not what I'm bringing, so I need you there.
No, that's not true. So let's wrap up the show by dispelling some myths, man. So if you are new, if you're coming in at season 2, here's what you need to know. Ash is the super smart, taught himself how to be a genius person, and you're going to learn a lot from him in season 2. I'm the one that's going to give you the occasional big word and definition, man, and we hope you stick around for episode 2, and you'll learn a little bit more about what it is that we hope to share with you. Go back to season 1 if you want to get the backstory.
All right, so Sash, we have been working on our secret project in lockdown, deep in the heart of lockdown.
I'm exhausted.
I know.
No wonder we look old.
We've been recording up a storm. So anyway, what we have created is a online course, but it's going to be an audio-based podcast course. And we've specifically done that format because we like the fact that you can download it onto your device and you can listen to it over and over again while you're out and about, in the car, out for a walk. Because sometimes sitting down and trying to learn content off a screen is not everybody's cup of tea when it comes to learning. So it's a 30-minute presentation program, and it's basically taking Sasha and my experience over the years when it comes to speaking and building great presentations and compacting it into a podcast series that just tackles the things you need to know to be able to build your stuff and deliver it amazingly.
So we designed this for all of you that occasionally in your workplaces get asked to give a talk to your colleagues. Maybe your youth group has invited you to share a message. Maybe in your church environment, you've been invited to give a 30-minute talk. Perhaps you've got a pitch that you need to make for a product that you want to sell somewhere, and you need to do a 30-minute presentation. If all of those things or any of those things are what you've got to do, we can help, man. And partly it's because Ish and I have sat through hundreds of 30-minute presentations that were rubbish. So what we've done, we've made it safe for work. That was the most exhausting part, was taking out all the swears. But it's there so that you can play it with your teenagers. You can play it if you're 30, 40, 50, and you can join the dots and build a 30-minute presentation that will be 100 times more amazing than if you just sat down now and did it. I'm not huge on selling stuff. I'm like, but I've listened to this several times now, and it's really good. It's really good. And I had to design a 45-minute presentation the other day, and I just used all of the same principles and absolutely nailed it. So I just reckon you should buy it. You should give it away for Christmas. Everybody's presentations would be much better if you took the time to listen.
So, Sash, what have you been watching on Netflix? I've been nailing a couple of things, but what have you been consuming with your eyes?
Apple TV, man, Ted Lasso. So I'd heard all the talk about Ted Lasso. I was like, it's just going to be hype. It's going to disappoint me. I'm not going to be into it. And I love every single thing about it. Watch it. Learn, fall in love, take the lessons. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved it. I watched season 1 twice because watched it and then watched it again with Joe, and then we're just almost through season 2 now. It's fantastic, which is really good. And the other one I'm watching at the moment is Zomboat, which is a kind of like Shaun of the Dead. So it's a zombie one, but they're on a barge. You know those barges that go through the canals, but they don't move very fast? So it's 2 girls on on this barge being chased by zombies, and the standard joke is because the boat's going so slow, the zombies are just walking along beside the boat trying to get them, but they're literally the same speed. Is
it a comedy, drama, horror? What is that?
Comedy, yeah. It's very Shaun of the Dead. So if you love
gory?
Shaun of the Dead, yeah, it is gory.
Do people die?
Yeah, but it's kind of funny. So.
Sounds amazing, and like you guys should watch it because I never will.
No, you stick with Ted Lasso. All right, so that's it for this week for Not So Breakfast Show. Welcome back to season 2. This is episode 1. Looking forward to bringing you episode 2. If you're binging, 45 episodes in the backlog of season 1 for you just waiting there. Get on it. It's a good ride.
Yeah, lockdown life, man. What did you learn? What did you make it mean? What did it teach you? How do we move forward? Cannot wait till next time.